We are just days away from having the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. We have 42 million Americans at risk of losing their food assistance, even though over the weekend a judge did rule that the Trump administration has to use contingency funds to fund the SNAP program for now. And we have tens of millions of more Americans facing skyrocketing healthcare premiums and in a cost of living crisis across the country. So was Donald Trump in Washington this weekend trying to find an end to the shutdown and solve, these crises? No. He was hosting a great Gatsby-themed Halloween party at Mar-a-Lago. And the level of excess at this party in the middle of a crisis in the United States is just grotesque, and it is this classic thing we've seen with the GOP and Trump since he won last year and started rubbing shoulders with the wealthiest of the wealthy, and it's become this feeling of, well, excess at the top for them and anxiety for everybody else. Here is what the party looked like over the weekend. I will start with this clip of a woman spinning around in a giant martini glass. Let's take a look at that. Now, the people at this party, I would say, don't exactly look like the forgotten Americans that Trump promised to fight for. These look like all of the people who bought their way into power and bought their way into access to Donald Trump to get what they want from him. And I think I want to show another short clip of kind of just a panning of the camera across the party, so you can see the type of people that were there. Let's take a look. Obviously, not a lot of diversity in that room. Of course, there are no working class Trump supporters in that room. Obviously, just a lot of money and vanity. And the Gatsby irony of this whole thing shouldn't be lost on people. He's literally hosting a great Gatsby themed party, which is a book about hollow wealth, self-delusion, and moral decay. And it is, it never ceases to stun me that people do all of this stuff and don't understand how ridiculous that looks. It's like these people are cosplaying as villains and still don't get it. And while Trump and all of the donor class and the billionaires party, you've got people who are facing food insecurity with blocked SNAP funds. It's crazy. And the backlash has started a little bit. You can see it online. You don't see nearly enough of it from the mainstream media, of course, but Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, who they keep sending out to defend all of the president's scandals, and he's an awful talking head for doing it because he's not exactly representative of working class stock either. But he was on CNN over the weekend talking to Jake Tapper about it, and Jake Tapper asked him if it was acceptable for Trump to have this party, and this is what Scott Bessent had to say about it. Let's take a look.
It came within a day of the president hosting a Gatsby, pardon me, a Gatsby-themed Halloween party at Mar-a-Lago while SNAP benefits are set to run out. And you can understand the general theme. I've heard Republicans even express concern about the general optics here of parties and lavish ballrooms and such, while a lot of Americans are hurting. What's your response?
My response is that the Democrats should reopen the government. And, I believe President Obama played a record amount of golf of any president. So, I'm not sure why he's out there throwing stones.
First of all, that's not true. By the way, Trump golfed more in his first term than Obama did in his entire 8 years of office. So Scott Bessent's excuse that, first of all, ignoring the question and somehow talking about Obama golfing, it's not true in the first place. And that is the problem is they have to send people out to defend the indefensible. But for some reason, the backlash and the pushback from the legacy media isn't that strong when it comes to Trump and his antics and the antics of the current GOP, where on the other hand, if President Obama had thrown a party like this during the government shutdown when he was in office, it would have dominated every single front page of every newspaper in the country. But the way it gets phrased for Trump is, well, do you think this is acceptable? Of course it's not acceptable. They need to go one step further than that and ask how the president could have gone ahead with something that is so clearly unacceptable. That is a better way to ask the question. And, this all comes in the same weekend where Trump sat down with Norah O'Donnell with 60 Minutes, and she tried to ask him about the cost of living. And this is what he had to say about it.
And to people that say they're struggling with the cost of living expenses, what could you do about that?
Well, let me just say, cashless bail is a disaster, got to be changed. Sanctuary cities really have to be changed. If sanctuary, you know what they're sanctuary for? Criminals. Some basic things have to be changed. But one of the things I really have focused on is making Chicago great again. And we're just getting started in Chicago. But what we did in D.C., well, we took D.C. from being so bad to so beautiful. The restaurants are booming. You can't get into a restaurant. They were closing, and now they're all opening. You can't get a restaurant now.
So Norah O'Donnell wants to know if he has a plan to solve the cost of living crisis, and all he wants to talk about is cashless bail, his military takeover of American cities, and how great it is, and how hard it is to get a restaurant reservation in D.C. right now. I think someone might need to inform the president that tens of millions of Americans literally can't afford to go to restaurants right now because they are too expensive for them and they are struggling. And that is what this Mar-a-Lago party really symbolizes and underscores is the president's total disconnect from the struggles of everyday American and his lack of willingness to try to solve those problems at all. 10 months in, we have seen no plan to lower the costs of food and everyday items. We've seen no plan to lower the cost of healthcare. We've seen no plan to help, American families that are struggling in this job market, where all we've seen is more distractions. And this is a president who rode into office on a promise to fight for working people. And he is throwing lavish parties when people are deciding between rent and groceries. And some people will say, oh, it's just one night, it's just one party. But in times like these, the symbolism of this matters, especially when the symbolism is so grotesquely obscene and excessive. And that is part of this, is this split screen between a president and the narrowest slice of the country that is shielded from any of the struggles people are going through, and they're just partying the night away while the president, while getting access to a president that is enriching them and making their lives better while not making lives better for 99.9% of the country. And I think that's my call to action to people this week is, like, if you have Trump supporting friends and family in your life, I think it'd be great to ask them, do you think it's okay that the president is partying like Gatsby while Americans are going hungry? And do you think the president has done enough to make your life better to earn a night like this at the expense of the American taxpayer? Because I would be stunned to see if an everyday American who voted for Trump and is struggling right now can find a reason to justify something like this. That is it for me today. If you liked what you saw, put a like on this video, follow the Dem Wins Media YouTube channel, follow me at buildingthebench.substack.com, and we will keep bringing you the news as you need to see it. Thanks for watching.